Hello, everybody, and welcome to the I Am 1-2 podcast with your host, Christopher Cohn. With me, as always, is my good friend, my cohort, my co-pilot, the producer that makes this podcast possible, Mr. Dan the Man in the studio. Hello, Dan.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast.
So glad we are here. Well, you may notice we have a special guest in the podcast studios today, and I love it when we get to have people come in and share their journey, their experience, strength, and hope. And it's so inspiring and it's so helpful to so many people to know that they're not alone, to identify with what other people have been through. So let me introduce my good friend, Daryk. Welcome to the studio. So glad you're here, buddy.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me, man.
It's an honor to be here. Very excited to have you here on the show. Daryk's been with us a while, and he is a good man in recovery, and he has a great story to tell, and you guys are in for a treat today, so thank you for being with us. So let's get right to it. We like to start with the basics, which would be your sobriety date. What is your sobriety date?
My sobriety date is April 11th, 2022.
2022. 3 years coming up.
Coming up.
Juice, dude. Congratulations.
Right around the corner.
That's freaking awesome, man.
Yep.
So was there a special reason for that date, or was it just sort of happenstance that it fell that way? Sometimes people plan their sobriety dates a little bit.
No, it was not planned at all.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
It just the way it fell.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
At least it wasn't on April Fool's Day, you know? So.
Yeah. Psych. Getting sober.
Right. Exactly. I'm not really sober.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's start with some basics, you know. Where'd you grow up? Tell us about your family system a little bit, like brothers and sisters and that whole dynamic.
I was born in Louisville, Kentucky. You know, I had a brother. He's a half brother, but he's just like my brother. He was 12 years older than me. We grew up in J-Town. My dad was an artist.
Interesting.
Yeah, he was working for himself, selling his drawings and stuff. And
what medium did you? Oh, drawings, like watercolor or pencil. Or
charcoal, that kind of stuff. And they later evolved into like computer.
Wow.
Like drawing on that.
Good for him.
Yeah, Photoshop and all that stuff.
Very cool. Now that's your dad or his dad?
That's my dad.
That's your dad.
Yeah.
And so he was already born.
Mm-hmm.
Your mom remarried and then had you?
Yeah.
I got it.
That's it.
In my family's the same way. You got to figure out who came when and okay.
Yeah.
Were you guys close even with the age difference?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, it was, I mean, he was my best friend.
No
know?
shit.
Yeah, he, I wanted to do everything he did.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know. He was my favorite person in the world.
No shit, man.
Yeah.
That's really rare. You're lucky. You're lucky to have had that.
Mm-hmm.
So, what was, just out of curiosity, what was the reason your mom and dad split up? Do you remember?
I don't really remember they were just unhappy. They'd been unhappy for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But that's really
no alcohol or drugs or anything?
No, I mean, not that the families, both sides of the families drank, but it wasn't, there was nobody that I can remember at least that was, ever out of control. They would just drink at the family functions and stuff like that.
So when you were born, you had your original father with her, and then you had that closeness with your brother. It sounds like a pretty tight family system. It sounds pretty good, actually, on the surface, right?
Yeah.
A lot of us came from some pretty cracked out households.
Yeah.
Yours sounds pretty good so far.
Yeah, and, I don't really... The thing is with me, I don't remember much before they got divorced. I was 8 years old when they split up, and that's what that's where for some reason, like, my memory begins. I remember like playing baseball with my brother before that. But you figure he's 12 years older than me, so when I was 8, he left for college. He went to EKU, and then my parents split. So it's like all at the same time I'm losing my best friend and my big brother.
Damn.
And then all of a sudden I've got 2 houses and 2, it was I just didn't take it well. I mean, my parents, they tried to show me as much love as they could, and they did a good job, but it just shook me up.
Well, we talk in my group all the time about the child's mind and how they sustain these life events, i.e. traumas, on a pure feeling level because they don't know how to make sense of it. Try to explain it to a child what divorce is. They don't understand what's going on. And so it's interesting, too, because we were talking about narrative therapy this week, and one of the questions they start with is, what's your earliest memory? So it's interesting that the divorce definitely looms that strong over.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a huge life change at a young age.
Yeah.
Now, prior to that, or even through that, what was the family's attitudes towards alcohol and drugs? Did you have it in the house? Was it sort of normal to drink, or what?
Yeah. Yeah, it was normal.
No beer in the fridge, whatever.
Yeah. My dad had his liquor cabinet, and family would come over and stuff, and everybody would have a good time. But
you never saw the drunk in the family. There's not an uncle or anybody that was getting a little too over the limit.
They all drank a lot, but to me as a kid, I remember them just being funnier and just like having a great time. It looked fun,
appealing.
Yeah.
Now, what was your brother wanting to go to college for? Did he have interest at that time?
He had a I think he was baseball.
Oh, really?
That's what he went to EKU for.
So cool.
Yeah, that was his thing, and that's like I say, me and him, that's what we would do.
What was his position?
He was a catcher.
Oh, shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough position, man.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys are like, to me, I look at them like the drummer in the band. They're a unique kind of cat that wants to sit there and have a ball thrown at you at 90 miles an hour.
I know it. And it's a different set of skills than the rest of the players have to have.
Totally. Same as the goaltender in hockey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so you were into baseball?
I was.
As well. And what was your position?
Pitcher and shortstop.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So this actually sounds, despite the tragedies, you had some pretty good stability with the sports and your family's love and all that around you.
I did.
And the only thing we have so far building the alcoholic story would be, well, these grown-ups look like they're having a hell of a good time when they get a little loose on this beer or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But still innocent. Nobody's smoking dope around you or anything like that?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Nope.
So what was your first memory of the first drug you ever tried yourself and decided, let's see what this is all? Did you ever sip off their beers or anything like that?
No, I didn't.
You're a good kid.
Yeah, I really was. I think I took a drink of my grandpa's beer by accident one time.
And it tastes horrible, though.
Yeah, I was like, ugh, I don't, no thanks.
Why is he drinking his urine?
No
this
thanks.
tastes terrible.
No.
I never could understand that.
And it was really, I don't know, I think like I said, my brother, he was gone, so it was just me. Being like an only child again. Mm. And I don't know.
So you lost your support system, kind of.
Yeah.
Because this is the guy you used to go out and do things with, and now you have to go out and make new friends, which is not easy for us with the alcoholic mind.
No.
A lot of us were loners. Was that kind of your story?
Yeah, absolutely. I had a couple good friends, and we were really close, but that was it. Mm-hmm. We went to different high schools. This was in like middle school. We were best friends. We still are best friends, but I went to a high school where I didn't know anybody that went to my middle school, and so I was pretty much a loner.
It was so open and weird in the 70s growing up that, I think they wanted to just dissuade you by doing that, but they would give you a sip of their drink. They'd be like, oh, you like this? You want to try it? And then you try it, you'd be like, what in the hell? Mm-hmm. Like my grandmother used to drink Old Fashions. And I was like, what in the... And I still get patients to this day say, I like the taste. And I'm like, you have to be trained on that taste. It's not a natural thing. You're like, ooh, that burn is good. You have to get used to it a little bit, So back on track. Tell me about when you decided for yourself you were going to try something and see what it's all about and maybe even got the effect. Did you get the magic the first time?
Yeah. I have a couple moments where I got the magic.
Tell me about it.
The first one I think I was 15. One of the neighborhood kids, he had an uncle that could get us some beer, and we decided to get a 12-pack of Budweiser.
Hell yeah.
And
USA.
Yep. And my mom was working, and so after school I had the house to myself, and me and him, I think we each had 3 or 4 maybe. And
I'll get you going.
Yeah. And I just remember we walked out in our neighborhood where we used to roam, and it was like I was in a completely different place. Mm-hmm. We're seeing the same things, but I don't know. It's still hard to describe, but it definitely sticks out.
Not hard to describe to me. You took me back. I could feel it. Actually, you just describing it. The term I use is magic.
Yeah.
It's like ding, and it's like a movie where you're just all of a sudden transported to this place, and everything is just more interesting, more nicer, more. There's a little bit of a glow to life, Mm-hmm. I remember there's a scene in the movie Days of Wine and Roses with Jack Lemmon and Lee Remick, and they go through this whole journey of one of them's sober, one of them's not sober, and it's awful. But she's trying to explain to him why she's still drinking because he's in AA now. And it's actually Jack Klugman, the actor from The Odd Couple, that comes to bring him to AA, and they have an AA meeting in the movie. It's pretty cool. But anyway, she's explaining, you know that first date we had in San Francisco, and we went down to the wharf, and it was so beautiful, and it was such a perfect night. It was so romantic. I've been down there since I've been sober. It's dirty. There's garbage in the water. People are urinating at the pier. And it's like, yeah, that's what we're trying to escape from when we drink and drug. We want to get out of that awful real world and go into that magic world, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep,
so you definitely got the effect, and I'm sure it caught your attention.
Oh, yeah.
And Daryk goes, what? I want to do this again as soon as I can?
Yep. Yep. Well, as soon as I could get away with it again.
Right.
You know?
Gotta be careful because
Yep.
he's got an image to keep. Because right now you're pretty squeaky clean so far. You're the baseball player, getting decent grades.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right?
decent.
Yeah. Decent
until around that point.
Yeah, it figures.
Imagine that.
That always happens.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's just beer now, or did we get a little marijuana going on?
Did the same thing with the pot. Knew a buddy that had some. I sought it out. I said, "Hey, come over, let's try it." We did, and same kind of thing, man. I was laughing. I remember I watched a T-Pain video, like a music video, and I just laughed for hours, you know. And it was just.
Was it the maniacal giggly laugh?
Yeah.
Because I was embarrassed
Oh,
the
yeah.
first time I got high.
I was scared.
I was like a little schoolgirl giggling so much. They were telling me, "Go to bed, shut up," and I couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah, that's how it was, but I loved it.
So, was there a difference of what you felt? The effect you got from marijuana versus alcohol, or did you like one or the other at that point? One over the other.
It's tough to say. I liked them both.
Just
I
both.
remember having the thought of I need to smoke more pot so then I can drive and go do more stuff on it. You know.
Yeah, it's a
remember
little
thinking,
more
like, I need
functional than when you're drunk.
Yeah,
absolutely. So even then, you're smart. You're thinking like an addict. That's smart addict thinking. You know, I don't need to get a DUI, so let me smoke some pot instead of drinking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that. I like the way you think.
Yeah.
You were switching already in the early days.
Yeah.
So was that your only consequence through junior high and high school? Maybe some bad grades, or did you ever have any run-ins with the law or expulsions, suspensions? Anything happen?
No, nothing.
Everything's regular.
Yep. And this is just on the weekends and when I can get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
My dad, when I was at his house, I would week at my mom's, week at my dad's.
Yeah.
When I was at my dad's, I was on lockdown.
Really?
So when I was at my mom's, that's when I had the freedom, but still didn't want to get in trouble.
Was Dad more of a disciplinarian, or he just sort of had his eye on you?
I think I didn't want to get caught with him. I think that's what it was. I think I didn't want him.
Damn, Daryk.
I didn't want
You're
sure
smart,
him.
dude.
But if my mom, I think I can.
I could roll with you. You have skills with a Z already when you were back then thinking, okay, I can do this here, but not here. Most addicts, well, especially when they get out of control, they can't help it. But most addicts will just make these goofy mistakes. But I was more of a thinking man's addict, like, okay, let's be slick about this. We don't have to just touch the third rail and electrocute ourselves. So I like the way you're thinking here. All right, Dad's not cool, but Mom, I can kind of slide.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this sounds pretty much up till this point, and again, a lot of us have this story of just normal, what teenagers do, experimenting and getting into a little trouble, but nothing major. So I would imagine nobody at this point was approaching you saying, be careful, were they? Did you ever have Dare come to your school?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
What did you think about that? Did y'all laugh and get high later?
I remember, maybe it was before I started, smoking, but I remember at one point them really scaring the shit out of me. They were bringing in, I remember thinking the drunk goggles were fun. I was like, yeah, this is cool. But they brought in some other stuff, and it was like, or maybe they showed us video. I can't remember, but I remember being like, some of that stuff is actually scary. I should maybe listen to them on some of it.
So, but you being the experience level you are, we're thinking, yeah, but that's not pot, that's cocaine, or
right.
Yeah. And I would never do that.
Yeah, I'm thinking, crack or meth or whatever. Yeah, no. Mm-mm.
Yeah. It's funny, they show those people. Here's little Janie when she was 8. Here's Janie as a meth head. Yeah, doesn't look attractive, but I'm only smoking pot, so it doesn't relate to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
right, so I always like to do this little question before we get to what happened after high school. If I had come to your 18-year-old self and I had said, Daryk, I'm your fairy godfather from the future, and I have a magic wand, and I can create any career path for you in life where you can do anything you want to do, what would have Daryk answered me back then?
I'd say a professional bass fisherman.
No
That's
shit.
what I would have said. Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that. What's the appeal? What's the charge that Daryk gets out of that?
My grandparents, on my mom's side, they had a house up at Patoka Lake, a lake house up there. And every weekend when I was with my mom, I would go with them to the lake house and we would just fish. We'd ride the four-wheelers down to the boat, hop on the boat, spend the whole weekend out on the pontoon boat fishing.
I imagine that's your peaceful place, right? It's
It is.
meditative.
Big time.
Yeah, I've seen guys. I actually had a guy in my group recently who competed in the tournaments. I can't remember if it wasn't Steve. I can't remember what his name was, but and he talked about it. It's like you're in competition and it's exciting, but it's also chill.
Yeah.
And so maybe the baseball was just too much of being in the spotlight, or did you also have dreams about pursuing that?
I wanted to, but I don't remember really why it fell apart. I think my family kind of talked me out of it. Like, you know, I didn't have the size. I wasn't that big, and
It's a cutthroat business, man.
yeah, it's like,
You don't want to sit around all day throwing your arm out just to maybe break into the minors. You know?
yeah. So,
So that's interesting, bass fish. Was there a guy on TV you were watching that was doing that, and you were thinking, now that's a life for me. I want to be that guy.
let's see, who was it?
Because I used to watch those shows on Sunday.
Yeah, like Mike Iaconelli, I think's his name, and like Kevin Van Dam, I think that's his name too. Those are old school, but that's who I was watching when I was a kid.
Interesting.
Fishing tournaments on TV.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Back in the day.
Yep.
There probably still are now somewhere on ESPN. They have to fill that time in somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what came after you graduated high school? Okay.
Yep.
What
Sure
did.
did.
Did you go to college next, or go right to work, or what was happening?
I went to college. Went to UK.
No shit.
Moved to Leicester.
Party School Central.
Yeah, buddy.
What years?
Let's see, 2011 to 2014.
Wow.
Oh no, I'm sorry, 16.
Wow.
11 to 16.
And at that time, I believe, because my brother was there,
Mm-hmm.
97, 98, 99, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think they had been through their couch burning. We're going to crack down on the frats a little bit stuff.
Oh no, that was going on when I was there.
Oh, that was going on.
Yeah, that's when I was there.
Were you right in the middle of it?
I was on the street, but I wasn't hurting anything. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? We were down there getting down with it, celebrating.
Did you join a fraternity?
No, I
No.
did not. Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, I had my own place, lived off campus.
See, University of Minnesota had a pretty good rep for partying, but I was sober then when I went back, so it wasn't really my jam. So I never really had that experience because I was so deep into drugs when I went. That's just a whole different vibe than being party school, drinking and all that.
Yeah.
Plus, I was in New York City and all that. So was that an experience you look back with fondness in your life? You have a lot of good times and, just general fun as a young guy.
Pretty much, man. The interesting thing was, so this is where my story kind of takes a turn. It was my freshman year. I'm just sitting in my apartment, and all of a sudden, I've got this really bad pain in my testicles. Feels like somebody's
Jeez, that's scary.
a vice grip. Yeah, I'm 18 years old, and my brother, who's a nurse, he's like, "Man, you need to go to the ER, go to the hospital." So okay, so I went, and that's when I came home with a little bottle of pills. He said, follow up with this specialist. But for now, here's something. Because, I was obviously in pain. I was scared. What was going on. And so that's when I was introduced to opiates. That's where that.
Do you remember, was it Loratabs or Percocets? Or
Loratab 5s.
Loratab 5s. So relatively low dose.
Yeah.
But for first time.
Yeah.
So tell me about that magic. See, because, when we're going over people's stories, there's always a moment when we meet our destiny, or we meet what I call my favorite chemical.
Yeah.
And it fits you so much like hand in glove, it almost frightens you because I like this too much. This isn't good. So what was your experience when you finally got the effect from that?
So, I mean, they gave me one at the ER, and I just remember feeling goofy. Mm-hmm. And then I'm sitting at home over the next week, and I've got these, and I remember talking to
Shake it.
Well, I remember talking to my girlfriend. I really, I wasn't seeking them. I hadn't really experimented with pills yet. I didn't really know. And I remember taking a few and telling her, like, I think these are what people get, like, hooked on, It's like, I don't see what the big deal is. And then I remember I finished that round, and then all of a sudden, the pain just kept getting worse.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
Wow.
I had to keep making.
God, did you think you had cancer or something?
didn't know what was going on.
Jesus.
Like I really didn't. I mean, they thought it was like prostate issues. They obviously checked for cancer. They didn't know what it was.
Damn.
And so they're doing all these, and I'm going to these doctor's appointments, and I'm, I don't have any more of the lower tabs from the ER. But then it just gets out of hand, and somebody I knew had some, a connection through college, had some, and because the doctors weren't really doing, they were just putting me on antibiotics and stuff, and wasn't helping. And then right around in there, that's when the switch was made inside me, where all of a sudden I had that magic moment where I loved them.
What year would you imagine that was? The switch moment.
Switch. Let's see.
2010, 16?
I'd say 2015.
15. That kind of fits the timeline, because when I get my patients go through their story, and opiates is part of their story, you can almost timeline it out from when they were just poured into the marketplace to when they started restricting them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing kind of in your story, maybe it's true or maybe not, you were still in genuine pain, but maybe the doctors were reluctant to give you the pain meds.
Yeah. Well, they were trying to figure out, they were really just trying to figure out what it was,
I see.
And I was too, right? I didn't want this. I'm like 18, 19 years old. It's my second favorite body part.
Well, for any male out there, it's a very sensitive area.
It's my second favorite one. So, I'm concerned, but I am. It's kind of, I'm having a hard time sleeping and stuff's going on. So
Damn.
I remember really when I had the magic moment, I was working at Jamba Juice, a smoothie place.
No shit.
Yeah, and
Up on Bardstown Road?
No, this was in Lexington, up on campus, and it's actually in the mall. Now that I think about it, and I took it first time I took a lower tab 10, the whole thing, right? Because again, I'm just taking what I can to really help. And man, all of a sudden, I was there by myself. The music sounded better. I'm jamming, I'm dancing, which I can't dance. You know what I mean? And mall walkers are coming up, and all of a sudden I'm engaging, and I'm like, "Who's this guy?" I've never just been like
You're
one to
talking
just
to Grandma Flo.
Yeah,
walking off her calories.
You go, Gertrude. Second time you've been through today,
and they're loving it.
Yeah,
nice
you
looking young
want
man
a free smoothie?
talking to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You could have been a gigolo back then. You didn't know. Had a second career for yourself.
Yeah.
I'm the juice guy in more ways than one.
That's right.
So, that effect, we've mapped it out scientifically, that if a person has the reaction to opiates where they get up and they feel like they're going to get busy and work more and be more friendly and interact, clean house, that's a sign that I've been told by neuroscientists that's going to be your favorite chemical choice. And because for me, and I've had this only once, maybe or twice in my life, where they had to give me some opiates for a surgery or something, and they just put me out. I'm just like, I just want to sleep. So I'm glad I don't have that reaction, but it was almost like fate. Your body was born to react that way, and you couldn't control it.
Yeah.
So, and you couldn't control this issue that showed up, and now you get exposed to it. All of this is none of your fault. And I find this in a lot of people's stories out there. If you're struggling with guilt and shame, folks, it's usually not your fault. There's a lot of circumstances that went into making you where you are today. So I'm really glad you're sharing that. That helps a lot of people. Did the medical stuff ever get resolved?
So the UK called in like a, I don't want to say specialist, make it seem like it was that big a deal, but he worked with like combat veterans. And because this is what they narrowed it down to, and this took 2-3 years, was that it was like phantom pain. Like I had some kind of nerve damage. My brain's telling me they hurt. There's nothing wrong.
Wow.
And so pretty much what was laid out to me was, you got two options. You got surgery or pain management. And so in that 2-3 years now, I'm realizing that that's what I need. And I'm not thinking that way. I'm thinking it helps, but there's some benefits also, right? The side effects. And so I've already decided, looking back especially, my mind was made up, and I used the surgery because it's scary, right? That's operating down there. So I feel like I had a kind of a valid, like, I don't know.
You're talking about your possibility of reproduction and
Yeah,
having children.
that was the thing. And
important.
there was a possibility of blood loss and amputation.
Oh,
You throw that A word out there. Whew. And so they got me in a pain clinic, and then they started giving me they were giving
real
me
stuff.
Yeah, they were giving me, well, they were only giving me, let's see, the Loratabs 7.5s, get 90 of those, put me on morphine, 60 milligram morphine, and then gabapentin maxed out at 22 years old.
Wow.
And it's weird for me because I go back and I had legitimate pain. These doctors were trying to help. I don't know.
Yeah, but Daryk, that's what I mean by a setup. The impact it made to your brain, your favorite chemical, it's undeniable that you cannot do that again. It's like it's for those of you at home that aren't addicts or alcoholics, it's the greatest orgasm you've ever experienced in your life, and you'll never forget that. And we're always trying to go back and recapture that first time use. So you're thinking, hey man, I'm more active at work. I'm talking to the mall walkers. I'm a good guy when I'm on these things. How could this be bad? It's a setup, man.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing feels to me like a setup. And we're making the best choices we can with what information we have. And like you said, you're a kid and you had legitimate concerns. I think it went the way it was supposed to go.
Yeah.
But had you figured out at that age yet that either drinking or smoking some weed or something also amplified the opiate effects?
Yeah, because I'm still in college at this point, and even before I was getting them from the pain clinic, I was still buying them off the streets, and all of a sudden I take a couple of these pills and I can drink longer, I can drink more, and then it made smoking some stuff a little bit better. Like, I felt like I really had like a magic little pill in my pocket.
I'm laughing too because I'm laughing at how much your story really parallels your sponsor, and God has a way of putting people together that have really similar experiences. I like the way that works.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about that in the future. But so at this point, was anybody expressing concern?
Oh, before they sent me to pain management, my brother and his wife at the time, they were both nurses. And his dad had some issues and stuff. And so, everybody was warning me. Everybody. People, my boss at Jamba Juice was like, hey, I don't know that you should really, I kind of asked her. I was like, she said, I wouldn't go that route. She said, I've seen a lot of people, and here I am. Not me. Mm-hmm. No way.
Mm-hmm. Which would be a normal reaction for a 22, 23-year-old kid. So
yeah.
Did you finish college?
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Went for 6 years and didn't graduate. I didn't even get a 2-year degree.
I know that can be a sore spot for us.
I worked. I was working full time and trying to go to school. And
what were you studying?
Business. I didn't even know what I wanted to go to school for. It's like I'm in this, I'm paying all this money to go to this place and I have no idea what I want to do. It was a complete waste of time.
Yeah, that's okay. You're young, and
yeah,
we always have this idea we're supposed to have our life mapped out. That's not my experience. Life is messy, and we go down different roads. So, but I think it's funny that business is sort of the catch-all major if you don't know what you want to do.
Yeah.
I'm in business.
It's like either business or
nobody can
communications.
argue with that. Yeah, because business is good. You'll make money. That's good.
Yeah.
So here we are, out of college, no degree.
Mm-hmm.
What happens in Daryk's life?
We moved back to Louisville. I got a job offer with Chipotle.
Okay.
Be a GM down here.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I worked at Applebee's and stuff. Restaurants is what I did all through college, and then I worked my way up to GM. So
wow.
So we get
it's a lot of work.
Yeah, a lot of hours and stuff, and that the pills kept me going, and I wasn't hungover ever because I could just take some pills and get right to work.
See, I managed retail stores, and we jokingly in the industry called it the Great American Freak Show, because anybody can walk in. You don't even need a ticket. Don't have to buy an admission ticket. You just walk in the store. We have to be nice to you, mm-hmm. no matter how crazy you are. But I've always admired restaurant workers and thought that's a hard job, dude. And the guy managing it all is even harder because you're managing a ship of fools who might show up for their shift or might not show up.
And I got to pick up their crap,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So again, the pills are helping. It's all good so far.
Yep, it's all good so far. So I'm living here and I'm driving back to my pain clinic there. And then all of a sudden, at that time, you could test positive for marijuana maybe once every 6 months.
That's such an arbitrary rule.
Right. So because I'm having to go, I think they were when I first started, they were given 3 months. Then it got cut down to 2. And so they finally just said, well, we got you. You tested in the last 6 months twice, so you're done.
Damn.
And
that's a panic moment.
it was. But for some reason, I decided I tried to quit. I really did. I detoxed in the bathtub. Because at this time I was just eating them. I was eating 3 or 4 or 5. I was eating a lot, but and I did it. I made it a while, but then I started smoking weed all the time, and had to switch from one thing to another. So then I just started smoking a lot of pot, a whole lot.
Then this is real common, because of legalities or because the drug's not around or I can't afford it. We got to get whatever we got to get. Mm-hmm. It's all about that need. Did you even have any concept about, we talk about in recovery, I'm trying to fill my insides with something from the outside because I just don't feel right inside.
Had no idea.
Yeah, just doing what young people do.
Yeah. I did realize it once that's when I started taking a toll on the people around me.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, actually, why are you always out in the garage? Why don't you come in, and especially without the pills, because they made me happy, and mm-hmm. I felt like I wanted to, I could do things for other people and try to make them feel like I care, which I did, but overly affectionate or whatever, and then all of a sudden that stopped. And then
we made you more introverted?
Yeah, I just want to be alone, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Me and my albums, yep. That's don't listen to my music, man. Leave me alone. All right, so let's get to the first round of consequences that for you consider to be like attention getting. When did things start to ramp up and get? Because the weed lasted how long? Let's establish that before you eventually broke down and did some more pills.
Yeah, about 8 months maybe.
Oh, pretty good.
Yeah,
we almost gave you a year, Chip.
I remember thinking to myself, man, I need to help other people. Do this because it was hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was that guy.
Yeah.
I still hadn't been to a meeting. Nothing had forced me into a meeting or anything.
Probably didn't even know what it was yet, did you?
I had a cousin who was involved, I guess I should say, and I kind of knew of it, but I still didn't. I'm good now.
It's just a little weed.
Just a little pot, yeah.
Just weed.
Yeah.
So. When you got back to the pills, did it progress fast? Because usually when people go back, it's
real quick,
nightmare time.
Like it never. I was at Chipotle and the lady said, "Hey, I got some pills in the purse." I said, "Well, why are they in your purse? let's have just no defense." And I didn't even
temptress.
Yeah,
dude, I had that experience so many times. Pretty little thing, just smile at you. Look what I got. Okay.
Yeah.
Like Bugs Bunny walking into a trance right into the trap.
Yeah. I was like, give me all of them. Let me have them, No big deal. And, and then it got worse. Then I started snorting them. And then eventually those ran out. And so it just progressed, Did
you ever tell yourself, judge other snorters, I'll never be like that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. When I would get low on my end of my pain management subscription, which I would run out in 2 weeks, but I would maybe I was too afraid to do it. I didn't know what was going to happen, And then one night I was at home by myself, and I was just like, well, this is my last little half of pill. I'm just going to do it.
Magic.
And then,
now I'm onto something.
I was like, whoa, that 5 feels like maybe a 10, Huh.
Only shorter.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't thinking that at the time.
I know. We never think it through.
Yeah.
All right. So what year are we up to now, would you say? Just so I can get your timeline.
This is probably 2018.
Okay. So we're getting pretty close to the present.
Yeah.
All right. So when it ramps up, we can have some crazy stories, some crazy consequences. Anything that stands out in your journey that was like, there was one night we did this, and I can't believe this happened. Car wrecks. Crazy relationships blowing up in your face.
Yeah.
People got knives showing up at your door at 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't know, whatever it is for you. But.
Yeah, there's a couple. One, I was leaving the bar. Me and Ashley had split up for a little while, and I was out by myself leaving the bar. And next thing you know, I wake up in my Ford Ranger in a ditch on 65. I remember shutting the bar down, and then I remember waking up in the ditch. And, I got beer and drugs, and I'm just trying to get out, and I open my door and the mud's up to the bottom. You can't even see my tires. And I don't know what's going on, you know. I'm just in a ditch, and this dump truck stops, and it's this Jamaican guy. He gets out. He says, "Come on, we gotta get you out of here before the authorities come."
Nice.
Takes me up
I'm
to the
gonna
gas
have to
station.
save you, man.
Yeah, he said, "Come with the authorities. They're gonna get you." Yeah,
That's awesome.
and you know, so that was my first ever, you know, because I never had any DUIs. I never
Say, man, I can
No
get me
trouble
out of here.
at
I'll
all.
take you to Jamba Juice.
get you some juice. But so that was wild. Then I had to call my dad and tell him
You got
what
out?
I did.
You got out okay?
Yeah, I got out just fine. Came back. And then
But you had that moment of blackout. Afterwards, there's always that moment of, oh, shit, I could have killed somebody.
oh yeah, and I'd had those. This is where I started to fall asleep standing up, and you know, stuff like that. So it's a lot of scary moments, but not a lot of consequences on the outside.
Yeah, so far I got out of that
so
one.
far.
What was another story? I just love stories. So
Yeah, I was at I was working at Chipotle, and right around that time I quit Chipotle. It's weird. I quit restaurants to start doing electric, but I was still working restaurants at night. I was working electric during the day, restaurant at night. So I was working there. I was still a manager there, but I think it was right around the first time I tried heroin that it's like the second batch that this dude gave me. You know, I got off one job, needed some fuel to go to the second job, so it's like, okay, I'll try it. I remember walking in, and I just remember stumbling around a little bit. Next thing I know, I wake up, it's 2:00 in the morning. I'm locked in the manager's office, all the money's spread out, and the restaurant is completely empty and still dirty. I was in charge of, 4, 5, 6, 8, 16, 17-year-olds to be making food. And who knows what actually happened, And so I woke up in this stupor and just left. I just left. Just walked out. I didn't steal any of the money, but it was out like to be counted. So that was big for me, that I got fired from a job,
So again, necessary question, but I already know the answer. And you were the guy that said I'd never do heroin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, every one of my patients says that.
Yeah, I would sit on the couch and watch what's that show, Intervention.
Yeah,
While I just took a handful of pain pills and say,
that guy's crazy.
I told Ashley once, I said, if you ever hear I do heroin, you run away.
Yeah,
You run from me.
yeah. Now I've never, thank God, had the pleasure, but I do have a deep compassion, because all I can imagine is when that runs up your arm or whatever, you just feel yourself go, and you're just like, oh, this is not good. I'm never going to feel this good again in my entire fucking life, and that's why people get so fucking hooked on it.
Yeah.
Was that a scary moment for you?
It was, I don't know. I think it's tough because I kind of worked my way up, through the pill game, and then I was doing those fake Perk 30s, the ones with the fentanyl. I say heroin. I don't know. I don't know what it was. It may have just been fentanyl then. I started working my way up through the Perk 30s and 4 or 5 of those a day, and so I don't remember anything being as good as that first 10 Loratab that I took.
Oh, really?
At Jamba Juice. I really don't.
Yeah.
Plus, who knew what was in it?
Mm-hmm.
Who knows?
So, Dad, we're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
When does any intervention come in to say, Daryk, we got to get you off this road to ruin? Did you even had a signpost come up or anything happen?
I had been
get your attention.
ever since I started snorting them. Really, I was like, all right, I gotta check this. I was just gonna do it once, and then next thing you know, I'm doing the pills, and I tried to detox myself. That was my plan, because my girlfriend at the time, she didn't know that I was using. I was trying to keep it a secret.
Mm-hmm.
And so, my plan would be to detox on the couch for the weekend, and I couldn't do it. I'd make it a day or two, and I couldn't do it. But the first time I did heroin, that scared me a lot. And it, for about 3 days.
It's like that snake bites you and you're running from it, and then you're like, well, maybe go back and check it out a little bit.
Yeah. And then I lose my job at Chipotle. That one scared me, because I lost some friends.
Was that unpleasant?
Lost some friends there.
They fire you in front of anybody? Was that a big
No,
thing?
they didn't fire me. I just never went back. Nobody called me. I think
They didn't even call
I think
you.
it was just a mutual respect. That we both knew that I wasn't allowed back there.
We're glad to be rid of them, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Not in a good way, but just I like stories. I like hearing. It just it reminds me of the madness. That's all. It's just everything doesn't make any sense. That's all chaotic and drama, and I'm so glad we don't have to live in that anymore.
Yeah.
You don't have anybody chasing you today or looking for you or wondering
No.
why you didn't show up for work or all that. All right, so let's get to the good story of when you got some intervention that helped you. What led up to either treatment or AA or anything like that?
I was working with a guy doing electric, and he would keep like not showing up on Mondays every so often, and then he'd come in and I'd be like, man, look, because we're both kind of doing, I don't really know what he's got going, but he's right here in the van next to me, every day. So we kind of close, but it's kind of a mystery. He seems cool some days and then way down some other days. So, and he sees me, we're both going through it, I guess, separately, like going through our addictions and stuff. But I just came clean. Like he could see that, at this point in time, I'm stealing from my boss. I'm driving his van. I'm working off hours. I'm falling asleep driving the van. And he kind of intervened and said, hey, man, why don't you come to a meeting with me? And I was like, what, an AA meeting? He said, yeah, whatever. I was like, okay, I'll go. And I would share my struggles about really trying to get clean, trying to detox. In my mind, if I could beat the withdrawals, that's all I needed, right? That's all I needed at the time, and I would be good. So he takes me to an AA meeting. We go to it's like a spaghetti dinner somewhere on Hikes Lane, and they have an Al-Anon and an AA speaker. It's a husband and wife. Because, I'm realizing I want to get sober, but I got too much stuff going on, I've got a job, got the girl, she can't know, and then I'm also in school to get my electrical license. I got too much going on. I need to get through this stuff first, then I'll try to get sober. And that moment kind of clicked for me that maybe AA is a good thing. Because she got up there, the Al-Anon woman, and just bashed the shit out of this dude, what he did to her and the kids. And then he had to walk his ass up there and tell it from his point of view, And I was afraid to lose Ashley at the time. That's a big deal. And so for a lot of us, we got to save the girl. But it made me realize that maybe I didn't have to. Like, this dude got up there and he talked about how he didn't have to lose that much to get sober, And that didn't last long. I was out doing drugs again after that.
Yeah, but it's that first seed.
It got something.
Yeah.
It got in there.
And I don't think that's by happenstance. I do believe that's total higher power. Your friend saying, hey, man, and the way he approached you, you didn't have a chance to throw up your guards and say, oh, fuck you. Because he's just trying to help you. He wasn't doing anything threatening. Yeah. And he's not pushing it on you. Yeah. And then you go and then you heard something that's like something got in. And that's rare for a newcomer to hear anything at their first meeting or remember it. So that's really cool. I like that. All right. So you knew there was a place to go, but we're not ready yet.
Yeah, weren't ready.
And how much longer did we have to stay out?
Well, pretty much till April 11th, 2022. So, I tried to quit so many times on my own. I was doing the methadone. I was going to methadone clinic.
Oh, Jesus.
I really wanted Suboxone.
Getting your dose every morning?
Yeah, every morning.
That sucks, dude.
Every morning, and still doing just as much dope. It just helped me get through work without having to break off or steal something. And they didn't care what was in my system. They didn't care. They wanted my $17.
Yeah. The problem with, and I'm not saying there's a lot of good people in that field, but the problem is it's got cross purposes. If they lose you as a customer, they don't want to get you sober because they're not going to be coming in and paying for your stuff. Right. That goes against the American business model. We want to retain our customer and have them come back.
Keep you coming back.
All right. So tell me about your real intervention that got you going from that date, and what happened from there. You just stopped and went to a meeting, or what was the magic?
I think, let's see. It's a hazy few weeks, really.
You were detoxing, so that's okay.
Yeah, so I've somehow, I think I got a batch of bad dope, and I was at work, and the guys got me. I fell asleep on the top of a 12-foot ladder, and they got pictures of me and stuff, and so these guys are kind of talking. And then I go over to my buddy's house.
Did you just slump over?
Yeah, they said
Jesus.
They said I was just asleep.
It's kind
You
of
get pretty good. You get pretty good at it.
12 feet in the air, bro.
It's like a skyscraper, man. Like you sway, but you won't fall down.
And they're just like, Daryk, are you there?
Yeah.
Wake up, Daryk.
And then there was
They're
about
throwing things at you. I don't know. I'm just joking.
yeah. And there was about 2 days I don't remember. And it probably had some Xanax in it or whatever. I don't know, but I knew like the gig was up to everybody. Ashley, my boss.
Oh shit! It all came out.
It was all of a sudden very blaringly right in front of me, and I'd really lost control for a day or two, and that, I drove to work. I did all kinds of stuff in those 2 days, but I wasn't there, so it really scared me, and I decided to try the methadone clinic, but the right way this time, and really try. And I made it. They started me off at 30 milligrams or something, and that wasn't touching the withdrawals I was having. And so I got to, I think, the 4th or 5th day of withdrawal, and I threw in the towel. I called my brother, who always told me that if I ever wanted to get help, he would have a place for me.
That's the message.
And I
love you, but not till you're ready.
Yep.
You're sick and you need to get help.
And the messed up part is I thought, this is how messed up I was. I thought that they didn't love me that much because they didn't do the whole intervention thing.
And I have patients who come to group who never get over the resentment of the family doing their intervention thing. We're never pleased.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, see, no matter what you do, we're never happy.
So he's like, all right, let's get you in somewhere.
Yeah, so I was sitting in the methadone clinic, and my drug dealer walked in, and I was like,
oh no,
to get his dose, and I was like, this can't be. So I texted my brother, and a patient of his actually started the Isaiah House in Willisburg, and so that day by 12 o'clock we're driving down. I had to make all the phone calls and call my boss. That was the one I dreaded the most for some reason.
I can tell that it was a tough time in your life, man. I can really feel it. Like you're like going, what's happening with my life? I'm going to where? I'm doing what? I felt that way when I hit my halfway house. It was like a bottom, like, this is not my path. This is not who I'm supposed to be. Right. Right?
Yeah.
So you get there and you find out it's not that bad, or how was it for you?
I really found out that they give me some medicines to help with the withdrawal, but they tell me, thank God, I'm so grateful that they tell me they can't give me any Suboxone because I've got the methadone in my system.
Interesting.
Because methadone's got a longer half-life, I guess, and so whatever. So because at first I wanted it when I got there. I was like, I need something, but I just laid down, and what it gave me the intro to was that there are other people just like me. Mm-hmm. I thought rehabs were for people who were living on this, homeless, dirty, that whole outside bottom, the outside perspective of a bottom, not just other people like me,
That actually hit me in treatment when I was in my first treatment. Didn't work, but it hit me, it left an impression. I was in treatment with a linebacker from the Vikings.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, no shit, dude.
Okay.
And I remember one day I'm in the coffee room, and he comes in to get his coffee, and I'm looking up at him. I come up to about his shoulder, or maybe his arm, and I'm literally not that short a guy. I'm a tall guy myself. And, whatever you see on TV, you have no idea how big these guys are, man. And I thought to myself, this guy's in group, and he was in my group, and he was sharing real shit. And I said, if this guy can admit he's powerless, this is a guy that's achieved more than I may achieve in my entire life. Nobody gets in the NFL, dude. And I was like, then what's my big hang up? That actually helped me a lot, just his presence. Mm-hmm. So, but it's similar effect, that I had the same idea that it's the guy with the bottle and the bag under the bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you get in there, and really, they were a faith-based center. So, they had the 12 steps, but just all around Jesus and stuff. And some stuff started to open up to me that there was only one AA meeting the whole month I was there.
Hmm.
Somebody brought it in.
Hmm.
And that was cool because I'd been to a few before.
Just a random one out of nowhere. They didn't have a weekly thing where somebody was bringing it in.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
And it, now that I look back on it, it may have been one of the guys in the center that started it. They only had two big books.
Wow.
So,
but at least it was a start.
It was a start. And the thing that they got me with the most was they said, when you get out of here, they had a relapse plan. And then they told me, you need to go to a meeting the day you get out of here. That was what stuck, and at the time I blew it off. I'm like, no fucking way, dude. I've been in here for 30 days. Go to a meeting. I'll go tomorrow or something. Go tomorrow or something, I'm finally free. And I got out, and I had some stuff to wrap up in school. They let me finish school even though I missed a month. And then I end up at the Token 3 Club at 8 o'clock on a Monday night.
Relapse no more?
That's it.
Nice.
Yep.
And was Brian there?
I don't think Brian was.
Oh, it was being run by
Bobby.
Bobby. Yeah, that's right.
Bobby, and that's where I met my sponsor.
Yeah, Dan was there that night? Okay. Now all the magic happens in recovery.
Yeah.
So did you catch his eye? Did he catch your eye? Tell me about that story, Aljo.
I don't remember. I remember him running up to me after the meeting.
Okay.
I remember.
I got myself turned down. He had done a newcomer share saying this was his first, I think he said it was his first meeting, or maybe he said it was his first meeting back after rehab or something like that. And I just could hear, you had firmly tapped on the shoulder, go get that guy. How it does sometimes. So I made a beeline to him at the end of the meeting, told him about Tuesday night, because it's a good thing that we're on Monday. And then you won't pick it up there. I want to tell your story, but it's a really
So this guy comes beeline and you're like, what's this motherfucker?
Yeah. I'm like,
we're so suspicious.
Yeah, because I tried to find a sponsor. 'Cause I kind of thought I belonged in NA. But
Which makes sense.
right, especially not knowing. I tried to find a sponsor in there, and they wouldn't sponsor me unless I went to treatment or whatever. And then but I was always too afraid to ask too. I didn't understand it really. So Dan comes running up to me and says, "Hey, go check out if you." What'd you say? You said, "Come check out Tuesday night, and if you like it, come back." Is that how it went?
Yeah, and I don't remember exactly, but I do know that like later that night, it was later that night I texted you and said, "Hey, and if you like this meeting tomorrow night, I'm having this retreat next weekend." It was the following from Monday to Friday to come. And I said, if you like this meeting, then you can come to this retreat and you'll really like that. But see if you like this meeting first, right?
This is the first night I met this guy.
I know. That's called the red carpet being rolled out for you by your higher power. Right? You see it that way today? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, dude.
Okay. And by the way, let's touch on that point about what meeting to go to, because I personally got to a place of desperation that I felt like I didn't need to fuck with my chances anymore. And I knew that AA had started everything. So to me, they were the source. And I'm a fan of the blues, and they have a phrase in the blues called the real deal. And I'm like, well, these guys got the real deal, and I'm sure Narcotics Anonymous is great, and I've been to a few meetings, but I did feel a different vibe in AA. So I felt like I needed to be there, even though I use way more other drugs than alcohol, but I am definitely an alcoholic, because when I drink, I lose control, and then I want to use other drugs.
Yeah.
So there's no doubt I'm an alcoholic, but and I had some of my worst consequences on alcohol only. I actually got by pretty good on drugs. It was fucking alcohol that always burned me. But again, go where you feel your heart is and where you feel welcomed and where you feel you're going to get this solution. And that's kind of where I made my decision.
Yeah.
So you come to Tuesday night, and that had to like blow your mind a little bit, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it did. I mean, I couldn't find it. Dan met me down and walked me up the steps, and it was just different. It was different than any, I hadn't been to that many, so I can't say I have a big, at the time I have a big, samples group to take from, but everybody was happy that I was there, and in weird ways, Eddie made me go get up and get a 24-hour chip.
Hell yeah, Eddie! Look at that.
Yep, he said, "You don't have one here." I was like, "I'm 30 days." He said, "Well, you don't have one here." I said,
Nice.
I said, "Okay, man." And then so I liked it, and then I believe it was after that meeting that Dan ran up on me and said, "Hey, do you have a sponsor yet? I said, no. He said, well, I think you know a pretty good one. I said, well, who's that? He said, me. And so
Did you really say who's that?
yeah,
Did you?
yeah,
That's so funny.
yeah. Yeah. So
We got to be hit in the head with a hammer. That's just the way we are, dude.
I know,
It's right in
man.
front of us.
I know. And then, told me what to do, and the next thing you know, he was my sponsor.
The first day of the retreat, he was, he did the newcomer thing, and he wouldn't do no carpool, come with anybody kind of deal.
No, he needs to have his exit.
And
I get that.
Yeah.
so he's not around. And
I'm not committing yet.
We're
Right? I need to have my exit car.
we're worried about him because he's not here and he's supposed to be here. And we're at the cabin, and it's one of these magic times when there's no cell service there. His cell phone signal got through to me down at the cabin, and he was lost. So ended up going up and making contact with him, and somebody gave you directions, or somebody out of the blue helped you.
Somebody stopped. I finally I don't have cell service either. I finally get cell service, call him, get a hold of him. Somebody had stopped behind me on one of those little lane roads.
Oh, shit.
Guy come up, because I didn't even know where I was. The GPS wasn't working. I don't know how to get there. I don't know where I am. And the guy draws me a little map. The guy talks to Dan and draws me a map and tells me where to go.
You ever heard the phrase Eskimos in the program? Yeah, they're a little Eskimo.
He was driving a mile.
Because, he stops and you're thinking, is this going to jack me? What's he doing here? What's going on?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And before that week, I lost my grandmother.
Yeah.
So I got out of rehab on a Monday, and she died on a Friday or Thursday. I believe it was.
I think it was.
So she dies Thursday. I'm at this retreat Friday.
Damn. It's a lot.
It was tough, man. She was one of those angels, that are here before an angel before they die.
Did you feel any of her energy or have any experience at the retreat that sometimes after people pass you can have these moments? I don't know if anything hit you when you were there about your grieving process or anything.
Yeah, it was cool. I got caught in a thunderstorm. We were all fishing at the pond. Everybody else left. I stayed, and it started a thunderstorm. It rained real bad, and so I tried to walk to this trail, and I kind of get lost, and I found this other little house. I don't know whose house it is, and I just sit underneath the roof. I feel like I'm not breaking in, if I just sit underneath their covered porch. And I sat there for like an hour, I think an hour and a half, until it quit raining, and I just felt like a peace, like a connection with nature, I was doing my favorite thing, fishing. I caught one right before it started raining, and then next thing you know, I'm under some dude's roof out in the fucking woods. I think I'm lost, but I'm totally cool with it. For the first time, I felt like I was just there. I was there. I was hearing the raindrops, and it was like it's one of those special moments. And I felt like my grandma was there. It was weird. It's hard to describe, but I was just finally, my ass was still. It was like I could take a breath.
I can feel it.
Yeah.
It's very emotional, man. I have spiritual, I know it's to be true, but I have a more romantic vision of things, like your grandmother's like orchestrating the rainstorm and like guiding you over here to the wrong path, and then you get a little shelter to hide under and then just be present and slow your ass down, which is impossible after treatment. You're in a recovery. You ain't slowing your ass down easy. And that's a moment you'll remember to the day you die. That's beautiful, man.
Yep.
I think that may have been very well the beginning of your spiritual odyssey of figuring out, okay, I think it's religion, or I think it's Jesus, or whatever, because that's what I've been taught. Mm-hmm. What are you guys talking about? And you had that moment. Did you come back and share it with the guys, or you just keep it to yourself?
I think I did.
Yeah, he did share it.
I'm pretty sure I did.
And it turned out he was at the chalet.
Yeah, that's what I was imagining.
Yeah. And, that retreat for me is what I feel like just set me up. I feel like the guys there just put their arms around me, and they still haven't let go.
And I was in.
I was
part
in.
of the group.
I remember Travis. Travis was pretty intimidating, okay, for a newcomer, right? He's got a powerful voice, tattoos. We have to go inside because it's raining, and he gets up in front of everybody. He goes, "Hey, I want to give a shout out to this guy, to Daryk. He's only, 9 days out of rehab or something. Give it up for him." you know, and everybody cheering, yeah.
What'd that feel like? First time, maybe in a long time, feeling that good that you're part of a group.
Yeah, that I was
Accepted.
welcomed, and that y'all are just like there's more of me. There's more of me. We can share it because you feel so different. You feel isolated. You feel alone, you know, when we're using. But that retreat, just the love that was there and available for me, it's irreplaceable.
It's one of my favorite phrases I've heard people talk about in their story, where some old timer came up to them and said, here's the thing, you don't have to be alone again ever again in your life unless you want to be. And that's that moment when you join the group. And man, was that laid out for you, bro. I mean, that's a very moving story. You were a lucky dog.
I know.
A lot of us had to fart around a long time until we got that feeling.
I know.
That's juice, man. So Dan gets you going in the steps, and I did want to bring Dan in here before we wrap it up to talk a little bit about working with Daryk in his early days. And you've done so many great things that you've been sober, and you're such a great part of the group and grown so much, dude. I remember I probably get 2 words out of you at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we're all that way. But now you just freely share yourself, and you can share your emotions here. That's so much development. Dan, what would you say about Daryk's journey? I know it's done wonders for you as a sponsor.
Oh, it's done a ton for me in these relationships that we have, and it was just so natural that it was almost, you could see that red carpet. I could, as a guy with some time, I just loved watching everything just click in place for him, and there was absolutely no doubt in my mind that he was going to do the work and get the results. It was like such a sure shot. It felt like a layup. And I knew it was going to go in. And that whole deal about, you know, meeting me on Monday and then he's out in the woods with a dozen or so guys out by ourselves the very next weekend. Not even 4 days later, he's showing up. And then how God ushered him in there when he was lost. It was just, it's been a blast. So proud of you. I've been watching everything you do, and you know, and it's simple. You can see this pretty simply, that when the people do what we suggest to do, then you end up with Daryk. You know, it is that automatic, and he just did it all, and still does. Sponsoring guys, doing everything we ask, and you go to, I don't know if you still do, but you go to quite a few meetings too. Going on 3 years, a lot of people peter out on that when they get out there. Yeah. He's been on this podcast, telling his long form story on the Spiritual Underground podcast. So if you want to go deeper with Daryk, and you can listen to some more there. But it has been, man, I love you. This is just a blast. This is a blast to have these relationships with men like you.
Love you too, man.
So we get so much out of recovery, right? And we fight it. The whole way we fight it. We have new people out there that might be listening, and anything you want to share with them about, you know, just give it a try, or what might have helped you to actually do the step work, which can be challenging at times. But your story is inspiring, so I don't know what else you could do to inspire them, but maybe get them over the hump, you know, and say, come on, man, just join us. Come in here and check it out. Find your tribe. You got to find the right group, and you were lucky. You had one like a layup. It just was a good fit for you.
Yeah. I don't know. So much comes to mind, man.
Well, you work with newcomers.
I do.
Right?
Yeah.
How are they doing?
All right.
So far, so good?
Yeah.
Little bumpy?
Yeah, a little bumpy. I don't know. I was just sold on this idea that if I drank again or if I used drugs again, that I would die. It may not be tomorrow. It may be 15, 20 years from now. I was sold on that idea because of you guys. I heard your stories. I heard how it always got worse. I was sold on that. And, you know, my sponsor told me, he made me a promise, and I make the same promise to my guys. If you do this, your life will get better, you know? And you don't ever have to go back to that place again. And it's for free. It's free. You can come get it. I know 20 guys that would be willing to give it to you right now. I could call them up right now. And we're lucky. I'm lucky to have found it. Something else had to be working in my life to be able to, like, as he said, lay out that red carpet for me. Mm-hmm. And I can't deny that, man, and that's we're all here ready to give it to you if you want it.
Well said. And I get to sit in a seat where I get to sometimes broker sponsorship with my patients. And there's 3 of them right now that I've set up with individuals, and they're just changing right before my eyes. One guy's working with Travis, one guy's working with Shane. I mean, like, each day, like, treatment can't do this. Like, they're leveling up on it so fast. So that's the deal. You gotta get somebody and the group in your life that it's your fit, it's your tribe, and you want what they have. So I had a very moving story. I'm still kind of emotionally overwhelmed a little bit. You're right. You're on a path of destruction and lifted into a new world. All right. Anything else you would like to say to wrap it up, or any last thoughts about sobriety or about anything in your journey? It's a hell of a story, brother. I appreciate you sharing it with us.
Yeah. It's amazing. I don't know how else to say it any better. Like, I love it. I feel like I'm the truest version of myself that I could be. And
without the fears, the self-doubts, the
Yeah.
emptiness inside. That's what I always had, is like I had an ego. It's like I always pumped myself up, but I always wondered, they're going to find out I'm an imposter. But that's all gone. I'm just myself today.
I'm just
You know?
me. And all the physical things, like, I still have the same job. I still work for that same boss, same girlfriend, same truck.
Ashley stuck around.
Yeah.
Hell
We're getting
yeah.
married in September.
Ah, no shit. Congratulations,
I know.
bro.
And so nothing has changed in my physical realm, but the way I view the world because of this work is 110% different.
And every area of your life sounds like it improved.
It does.
Relationship with Ashley, your health,
Yeah.
everything's good.
And it's I just have a peace that I just can't explain it.
Choose. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Daryk. It's a great story.
Thanks.
You did an excellent job, bro.
Thank you.
So we are going to provide these for you every week. We usually have a few topics, and then we try to bring in a guest, and we're going to keep these on rotation. Thank you for joining us. Please come back and see us. Like, subscribe, and comment so that we can get our numbers up and more people can see this. We want to help as many people as possible, and that's why Daryk's here today, to carry his message to the person that still suffers. So put it on your Facebook feed. Recommend it in your social media. Just say, this was a good episode. Daryk's a good egg. Go listen to this. And it might save a life, so you can feel good about yourself. All right. Well, we like to close with the Serenity Prayer, just as we always do. So if everybody would like to join me, please. Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference just for today. Keep coming back. Your works if you work it, and you die if you don't. Woohoo! Keep coming back to see us. We love you. Peace out.